welcome to the cellar. It might not be suitable for work later on. See what kind of mood I'm in then. Speaking of which, it's not going to be that far because these videos are completely and totally reliant upon comments. As you know, I don't use this as a bully pulpit and go on espousing things. There's too many morons that have access to a camera and a program that'll let them do this, who want nothing more than to espouse a bunch of ideas that nobody gives a shit about. But so that's not my thing. I try to interact with you that watch and answer questions to the best of my ability. Whether it's an interpretation of how I would do something or how we did something back in the day or whatever. That's what I do. So, we always had a henchman in our game. He was necessary because we had 2 players and 3 characters. He wasn't an expert, but he was a fighter who gained levels and had lots of power. He was mostly extra muscle, but also a canary in a coal mine type as well. I like that canary thing. We call them meat shields because they went in front of the column. No, and that's in fact that's an excellent solution when there's just a couple of you that want 3 people want to play, and well, 2 players and 1 DM is tough. Not much, and so yeah, that's a brilliant solution. And the canary in the coal mine, sure. Hey, Bob, go up there and check it out. All right, I have a question. I recently read on Gary's Wikipedia page that he and his first wife, Mary, were practicing Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's true. When I first met them both, they were. I believe Mary still is. I know there was a time when Gary wasn't a witness. He was back when he was writing stuff on Dragon's Foot. There was a period of time when he signed something, some of his responses, and it was a religious sect that had a lot of words in the name. It's always been my opinion that the more words you have to have in the name of your church, the more divergent there's a good chance you are. And I don't mean any disrespect. That's just an observation I've made. And it was another very profoundly fundamental thing. And then there might have been another one, but I think he ended up a witness again, I believe. I do believe there was a time in there where he was wondering. So that's all I can say about it. We never talked about it. Mary explained a few things to me about not saluting the flag and saying the pledge and the national anthem, and I came to understand the very broadest outlines, and that was it. All right, this is a series of rapid-fire questions that I'll read slowly. Have you ever been stuck on what stat to assign to a task? No. I've sometimes gotten stuck on a solution, but no, I could always wing it and go roll against this, roll against that, whatever. And sometimes for a laugh, okay, roll against your wisdom for why you thought this would work anyway, and if they make it, they make it. But no, I'm pretty sure I can honestly say, no, I've never been stuck. Not more than a second or two. I'm not push a button, get an answer fast, but I don't think so. Do you ever get foggy over how to resolve a PC action? No. And rather than make this sound like a brag, because it isn't. It's simply the game I play now, the Wheel of Blame. It's old school, first edition, old original, somewhere in between, and it's completely ad hoc, and that's the way I want it, because I want them to give me something. All right, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. I'll figure out a way. I want them to do that, and frankly, that's why I still do it, is because I find the challenge of doing it. If you've not played the wheel, at the barest rudimentary explanation, each player gets a pre-gen. They give me an index card with two things on it, not connected to each other, two things, like nouns, with as few adjectives and adverbs and other crap on it as possible. I take the cards they give me, and I use that as an inspirational basis for the encounter that those will provide. And if I do it exceedingly well, I hear at the end of the game, when we go over it all, oh, hell, I died on my own card. So the very nature of what I've been doing for the past several years relies on me being able to be fast and quick and accurate and get a laugh when it's appropriate. Because I'm at a con and we're having a good time, and I'm there to make fun, to provide fun. I just shovel it out, and you suck it up or not, your choice. At least I think it's fun. Anyway, what is your method of keeping the wheels of the game turning while you come up with a solution to tricky choices or resolving actions? Well, at a convention, we take a break. I generally take breaks at conventions anyway. I do not like sitting down for 4 straight hours anymore. I give my voice a rest for a few minutes. I re-nicotine. May have to make a pit stop. Depending upon the state I am, depending upon the state in which I find myself, the smoke breaks will vary, and we generally take somewhere around 8 or 10 minutes, and we agree on this at the beginning, before the first die is rolled, that at X point we will take this break. So everybody knows, okay, I can go get a drink, I can go to the John, whatever, right? And it gives me the option, we're going to take the break 10 minutes earlier. I've only had to do that twice. I don't even remember why I had to do it the first time. But the second time I remember very well, and I've mentioned it before, and that was somebody put down the Garden of Earthly Delight, and that's an instance where, okay, Garden I would have had fun with. I might even have taken it there, but by them taking it there, I let that one slide because I knew we could have fun. And as it was, all the players failed their wisdom checks. So they were all beguiled by dusky or pale or swarthy or whatever kind of, oh boy, what a hostess, because I had all guys in this group, type thing, just like the Garden of Earthly Delights was supposed to be. And they all got taken off to their individual pavilions and tents and whatever. And I was stuck because I was looking at a TPK. So I went outside and I took one of those aforementioned breaks of whichever type, and I decided that one of the guys had a piece of sand under his eyelid, and so he did not stay asleep, and he woke up the rest of the group, and they escaped the clutches. So yeah, there was that time that I had to go out doors, clear my head, literally in the fresh air. It was a winter convention, as I recall, and colder than hell. But generally, that's not been an issue for me because of the type of game I run and the way I've run games over the years. Would I ever resort to polling the players for a resolution? Absolutely not. No, 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 no. The author of a novel, after bringing you along chapter from chapter to chapter, and you come up to the big resolution, is not going to make it a, okay, if you want it to be this, read page. No, they're not going to do that. No. You're along for my ride. Scream or shriek, hold on or not, but you're going to endure the ride, whether you enjoy it or not. I can't say. Hope you're having a good time. All right. How do you navigate PC travel on the open ocean? Well, quite frankly, if you're doing it on the open ocean, only anything other than a handful of rolls. I mean, okay, let's say you're going from oh hell, let's get bold and say you're going from England to Nova Scotia. Okay, up over that arc, and most of the time, unless a storm comes up, and I would look at the time of the year and the relative likelihood of a storm possibly, and we'd roll percentile dice. And if you didn't get sunk or blown horribly off course, we'd proceed. I'm not going to do a 5 mile hex crawl across the ocean. I'm going to condense. Maybe 3 weather rolls total. Because who cares about sailing across the ocean? That's not what Swords and Sorcery role-playing's about. You're not going to get experience points for becoming sailors. Now, you might live and succeed, but you understand where I'm going with this here. You're not there to learn to be a sailor. If there were the possibility, if the players had to sail through a place where there was a possibility of pirates or something, because before I ever put them out in the ocean, I've got it all plotted out. When I start writing where they're going from point A to point B, you can be assured I look at it like the Mediterranean. I got the northern coastlines at least roughed in, the southern coastlines roughed in, and plopped a couple of islands out there in the middle somewhere, so that there's more possibilities for you as the DM. If they get blown off course on a storm and there's no islands, how do you, all right? And maybe they don't hit an island anyway. Maybe they get blown clear to the other end of the sea. If the winds persist, Again, how big are your hexes? They can't be a 6 mile hex. Maybe a 60-mile hex or 600-mile hex. How far are you going? How many times do you want to roll dice? And frankly, how many times do you want to have your party run the risk of failure? How many times do you need for it to be a scary thing to sail across this 600 miles of open seas or whatever? And if you got a bunch of people that are nautical types, you all live like somewhere and you go out and sail your little sailboats every weekend and you want to play it, that's fine. There's not been a really good sailing game ever made that I've seen. Certainly not on that small of scale. So, again, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to find the ways to kill the players? Are you trying to give the players opportunities for experience points? Are you trying to get the players from point A to point B? And let your own version of common sense prevail. Um, you mentioned the species of dwarven sailors, pirates in your world of Mikanda. But have you ever devised a way to track PC movement on an open ocean? Of course. If you're going to play in my game and you're going to be on the ocean, I'm going to have prevailing currents. I'm going to have prevailing winds. Whether it's a little chart that I roll a 4-sider for wind direction and a 6-sider for velocity, I will have, or I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to I can see no circumstances where an adventure would go from a terrestrial adventure to, ho, ho, jump in the ship and let's go, boys. No, because I would go, okay, that's a good place to stop tonight. And I give the players also a chance to figure out, whoa, okay, what are we getting ourselves in for? Oh, hell, my player character can't even swim. Time for a second thought. I'm lenient in that regard. Once embarked upon a quest or a project, you're committed. But in that instant that you're committing, I'll let you back out. Second thoughts. If I want to track PC movement, hell, there are some sailing games that you could use. I mean, if you wanted to be a real brutal DM, there's one about going around the Horn on a sailing ship. That's what you do that afternoon. So you have to make the choice of how big a part of that do you want that campaign to be. Are they going to become proficient sailors and gain experience points? Okay, fine. They now can tie knots, pick a rope apart with a marlin spike, and cast a log to see how fast they're going. I'd be interested to know what you can apply to that to the general adventuring. Now, should there be or could there be more adventures on the open seas? I imagine there could be. Should there be? I have not seen any demand for it. Let's face it, what we enjoy most is crawling through the dungeons. And that's why I write adventures that make you float in the sky and go under the water and stuff like that, just to take you out of your comfort zones. In one of the 2 adventures in the Lost Adventures that Wizard Tower's putting out, you have to traverse several miles of a glacier. Not on the top, through it. Through these strange, twisting, sinuous tunnels that I'm not sure if you're lucky or not if you figure out how they came to be. So, do you make it... I'll do things on ice just for the fun, and then have a lot of dex rolls, and it's usually for laughs. I don't get into that when it's life or death. I'm not going to make somebody slip on the ice and suffer a fatal blow. No, come on. This is supposed to be, this is fiction, fantasy. Let's have good resolves, good resolutions, good endings. I don't need a bad, ugly one. I can do enough to that during the middle of the game. All right, what are your top tips for tracking PC movement in the wild? And how do you make that easily comprehensible for the players? Okay, once again, now this I have more experience on because of the Arredondo adventures that I wrote. And the Arredondo adventures, the hexes had a certain width, and they were populated with a certain type of terrain or vegetation or whatever, and they may or may not have had an opportunity for an encounter with a vegetative species, an animal species, a reptile species. Those varied. But you success in a. I need another slug of dew. In an adventure that involves trekking in the wilderness, I think it's much easier to bite it off in 6 or whatever your hex, 6 foot or 6 mile, 10 mile hexes, whatever. You can easily condense most everything that's going to go on in that part of the forest, and probably lots of other parts. There's very little likelihood of anything. There's only so many bears that roam through the forest, and and there's a lot of forest where the bear might be. So it would be a very slow progression to. You can have fun in the wilderness. A good part of one of the Arredondo adventures is in the wilderness. There's I did 2 that were jungle based oriented, and I made the terrain part of the adversary. They fought the terrain as much as they fought whatever else they ran across. But I did that on purpose because I had already populated with that jungle with different species of plants and animals. So that became the test. But there's other times, of course, when that's just to be, it's flyover territory. Okay? And when it's flyover territory, you don't need all that stuff because you really don't need to go into it in any fashion. All right, what's next? Question: henchmen or hireling rebellions, should they be off the table? I always thought it would be a fun way to relieve the PCs of treasure, but it all seems mean. Well, it would be very cinematic. And it gives an example. But I'll go on to the example. Imagine the poor PCs trudging bedraggled out of the temple of Damon the demon dentist, clutching their wounds and giant gold-teeth treasure, only to find their hirelings arrayed about the temple gates, pointing crossbows and suggesting they renegotiate. Okay. The problem I have several problems with this. You may have been reading too much Knights of the Dinner Table with the way they deal with hirelings. And as you all have watched this anytime at all know, I love Knights of the Dinner Table. They have lots of trouble with hirelings, but they use hirelings like meat sacks. So, they should. Do you really... it seems mean? No, it is mean. It is mean to have them all ready to loot them up. Now, if it can be justified, if they reneged on the pay, or they've been shorting them on the pay, or they didn't let them in on something that they said they were going to, well, then you as the DM got to roll some percentile dice and test the waters and make your decision based on what you roll. But to just wait and say, no, we want more. Nah. You're not there to be an adversary for the players. You're not the guy running around with the sword. You're the guy behind the camera with the funny pants on and the you're the director. But more than that and less than that, you're not the writer. You shouldn't be most of the time. The player characters in your group should do most of the broad strokes of the writing of the adventure and how the story unfolds. You can focus on gray and hazy areas and flesh out the story and adventures and side adventures and whatever. But as a DM, you're not there in an adversarial relationship. You're there to facilitate the fun. You should have fun doing it. They should have fun having fun doing it. And if everybody's having fun, ta-da! The fun's the thing. I don't sit down to a game to destroy X number of tanks or shoot down X number of airplanes or slay so many ghouls. That shit happens while I'm sitting there, but it happens while I'm having fun with who I'm sitting there with. It's not. I don't believe it's all that subtle a distinction. And I don't think you should, as a good DM, you should ever put yourself in an adversarial role against your players. Now, that's not to say that you can't beep, beep, beep on the nose a couple times and point out a foolishness. But there again, you're the director giving your actors tips on how they can do it better. But I don't believe you should ever be adversaries. The players and the DM should never be adversaries. Now, the DM runs, operates, controls, whatever, the player's adversaries, the monsters, the bad guy, and all that. But he should be doing it cold, not favoring one way or another. Let the dice fall where they may. Oh, man, you wiped out my bad guys. Okay, well, shit happens. Okay, might happen. Never be an adversary. All right. I would like to know if you think starving PCs could sustain themselves on magic potions for a few days if they really had to. Well, they'd keep them hydrated, wouldn't it? Or more hydrated than they might have been otherwise. We just went out in a dark corner. We're not going there. Okay, I'm going to read a couple other potion questions here, and then let's just talk about potions. Could it be a situation of diminishing returns when potions' effects use up any nutritional value they might offer? Furthermore, what potions might be the most nutritious? Would a potion of I'm going to answer these one at a time. Would a potion of giant strength also provide a starving PC with giant hunger and hasten their demise through famine? One last thing on potions. Can a magic potion itself be evil? Is it possible for a potion to be evil, or would it have to be somehow sentient before it could be evil? Is a sentient potion possible? Well, hell. The broad answer is it's fantasy. Anything's possible. But let's go back up to the beginning of this sequence. If a potion had a significant amount of vegetable matter in it, I'm sure you could squeeze a calorie or two out of it. If a potion was blood-based, and you don't mind sucking down lukewarm or worse blood, I suppose. Another question that springs to mind immediately is, could you hold it down long enough for your stomach to achieve anything before you blew it back up? All right, back to the question. Diminishing returns. They use up any nutritional value they might offer. Well, that would depend on the potion. For instance, if you took a potion of haste, that would certainly make you burn up all your calories because you just sit there and twitch if you couldn't do something hasty. Common sense. What's a potion do? If it's a healing potion, it's probably got flowers and honey and crap in it. Is there any nutritional value? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't. They wouldn't. They don't in my. They as of now they don't. If they ever did in my world, have any nutritional value. Now the question about the potion of giant strength make the starving PC die sooner. Yep. Because when that potion hits his blood, and that blood surges into his muscles and they start flexing and that, they're going to burn calories. And as that blood's racing around, feeling gigantic, it's going to burn calories faster. Because the human body, we'll say we're all a svelte 6 foot 175, would burn X number of calories at rest, and now you give it the heebie-jeebies. Or in this case, make it think it's bigger. Now you're not just, yeah, I'm kind of hungry. Oh my God, I'm hungry. And that's going to burn calories. It's going to make your muscles burn calories. So, yeah, I think that would be a bad idea. And can a magic potion itself be evil? No. A potion is a concoction of ingredients, a collection of ingredients. Is the nightshade plant evil in and of itself? I would say no. So if you're going to put something in that uses nightshade, I'm not even saying a poison to kill, but to render unconscious, other things that people have used nightshade for in fantasy novels over the years. If you're going to do that, it's not evil itself. Potassium and saltpeter are not bad in and of themselves. And just because you mix them up with something else and make it into gunpowder, does make the gunpowder evil? No. TNT is not evil. Charcoal. I had to think of that third thing. The TNT blasting powder is not evil. A bottle of water is not evil. Could it be used to do evil? Yes. So could a jar of honey. Is it in and of itself? No. Those kind of things, in my opinion, are neutral. Neither one nor the other. Neutral. A sentient potion. Hey, it's fantasy. Okay, if I want to conjure up that there's a minor demon living in that blue jar on my apothecary desk in my sanctum, okay. All right. I don't cancel just because one player is missing. Maybe I'm a mean GM. I no longer say DM since Wizbro is claiming it as a trademark. Hold that thought. But it just isn't fair to the players who do show up. The first time player one misses, their friend controls the character as a mimic. Second time the player they don't like, or me, the GM. Oh, the second time the player they don't like, or me, the GM, plays the character as an NPC. Look, you can be a little tin pot dictator in your group. That's fine. You can make whatever rules you want in your group. It's your group. It's fine. But just remember, if it ever happens that they stop coming back, they stop showing up, well, you might want to look at your guidelines and rules. But anyway, that's pretty harsh. And too bad if there's only 2 or 3 other players, then come on, you guys are playing a game together and somebody all of a sudden can't make it. They can't pick up the phone and say, hey, something came up, I'm not going to be able to make it. And give the other players a chance to, okay, we'll come and play without you. Or we'll all get together anyway, but we'll play a board game or something like that. Come on. It's not supposed to be adversarial in any way, shape, or the form, except across the table. That is good. And now, there was someone that responded to that comment about claiming it as a trademark. DM was trademarked by TSR before WotC was a thing. Yes. WotC has been way more lenient with D&D IP than TSR ever was. Yes. They were dicks. But it was a different market back then. And WotC can be lenient because WotC's already doing quite well. TSR wasn't because they were trying to do well. Better than they were. So circumstances demand sometimes dicky things be done. And so this guy, DM, was, okay, before WotC was a thing. Yeah, I know. Well, I got news for WotC, very respectfully. I'll continue to call myself a dungeon master or a DM because I've been one since before their company even existed. I'll call myself whatever I want. They can't stop you from using that. That's absurd. That's absurd. And if they wanted to, they should have done it years ago, as soon as they acquired the properties, which means they had acted in a timely fashion to keep people from transgressing on their trademarks. But they didn't. But anyway. On Facebook, you made a post. Oh, here we go. All right. I think, I just found this evening. I think this is another ghost post from one of the dumpster fire in Lake Geneva people, Hovermail. He likes to, we ferreted him out a couple times this week already. He gets on there and then makes cheap shots. On this one, my cheap shot for the day was, on Facebook, he made a post about not being fragile. Well, I doubt I ever called myself fragile or even not fragile, but but you rage quit the Dragon's Foot forum site. I'm not sure what rage quitting means, because not enough people were fawning all over you. Dragon's Foot was a long time ago, and oh God, I had way over 100 pages on there. Way over 100 pages. I can't even remember. The thread's locked now. But there came a point where I thought, well, I pretty much answered all the questions anybody's likely to ask of me. And I told all the stories I wanted. And I went on to doing something else. But I didn't rage quit anybody. Least of all Dragon's Foot, because I'd had a good time on there. And I'd been able to piss off a few people and share a few stories, and it was fun. So I didn't rage quit. And as to fawning, like I said, I don't know, 140, 180 pages, a whole lot of pages. And on that kind of forum, pages are generated by answering questions like I do here, except I do it here orally. And no, I if I was looking for fawning, I think that would have indicated I had some, if that was my thing. All right, and on a related topic, Eric Tenkar, who does Tenkar's Tavern, which is I guess it's what I do, a blog post or whatever the hell this is. And Eric likes to dig around and find out facts and see who's hiding what and get behind the story on things. And Eric's a retired New York cop, and he has not lost that ferreting out urge to find out. And he sometimes gets upset about stuff that I don't, but he seems to be a reasonable fellow, and he had a recent one, a rant. He took off after Goodman Games. It seems that it doesn't seem. Goodman Games was going up for like an 11th printing on Dungeon Crawl Classics, and they were going to update the forward. Some of the forward, and quite frankly, it was dated. It looked cool in the old ones that are already published out years from now. Oh, look at this. But it was dated. It asked people to honor the memories of people that people today have never heard of. I was one of them. And, yeah, I'm a little sad to see it go, because everybody likes to see their name in print in anything except a warrant or in an arrest affidavit or something. Yeah, okay, but Goodman Games has been very prescient over the years of not knowing what way the wind's blowing now, but knowing what way the wind's going to blow soon, and put themselves in favorable positions to make use of that wind. I was asked, did that upset me? No. A little pang, okay. Somebody asked me, would I be how did I expect I would be? And I said, well, I'll only be remembered by people who care enough to look up and find out the facts from back in the beginning. And that's okay. I'm perfectly okay with that. I know what I did, and I put my head down on my pillow every night. Cool with that. So, I recognize Goodman Games as modernizing, if you will. There's been more of this revision. Now, as I guess it was last week, we talked about the stuff that WotC has changed without telling anybody. They're modernizing. Socially modernizing. I don't expect my name. I've not done anything yet to make my name ring down in the annals of history. I know what I did, and I know what people will find that bother to do the research. Fine. Well, having gone through this, responded this, oops, it's all been fixed. Apparently today, somebody on behalf of Goodman Games came out and said that the 11 names or whatever were not going to be expunged, and that us old farts will live on in perpetuity in the front of the book, or until we're all dead. And then they, on the 19th printing, they decide, well, now we can finally get rid of those old fuckers because, oops, they're dead a long time. And that brings me to another point. It seems as though social media is choked. And I mean choked. And I'm not, oh golly, I just figured this out. But I've reached a saturation point with idiots on social media that have a camera and or a phone and an opinion that they think anybody's going to give a shit about. I think who gives a shit? You're an idiot on TikTok. You're an idiot on Facebook. Who cares? You're an idiot. You're Twitter, whatever. Tweet, X, whatever. You're an idiot. Even a monkey can figure out how to make a camera come on so he sees himself up there. So, don't think that gives you any points. And just because you think that the dark hairs around the rectums of a certain greavy zebras all go counterclockwise, because who cares? Who cares? If you want to be a social critic, get some cred. Otherwise, you're just another blithering idiot with a camera, bloviating away. Or, like the aforementioned, you're just another liar pretending to be something or someone you aren't. Simple. And that brings me, I think, to the end. And remember, every once in a while, it doesn't have to be 100% game stuff. It can be other stuff might be of a general interest. No politics, no religion. And if I think it's inappropriate and I don't care to answer it, I won't. And if you don't hear it that week, well, you'll know. And it'll all be good. And on that cheerful, upbeat note, it's been a great day, by the way. We had beautiful weather. Made a trip north. Completed. Made a trip home safely south. And today is a great day in the state of Ohio. Now, I'm not denigrating in any way, shape, or form the fact that December 7th is always going to be Pearl Harbor Day. But it's also the day that we got legal weed in Ohio. Don't go, bro. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
The curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. ESR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree,
High as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.